This episode of Test Drive is made possible by RateMyEV.com.
Welcome back to PRN Test Drive. I'm your host, Niall. Today, we're looking at the 2025 Ford F-150 Lightning Platinum. Now, I had a chance to drive two different versions of the Ford F-150 Lightning over the last 3 years. And I did a 180 when it came to the one that I drove about 6 months ago, going from a vehicle I just wasn't really into and thinking that it wasn't a very good EV and it was kind of an okay pickup truck, to being a much better EV and a much better pickup truck in 2024. Now for 2025, it's effectively a carryover model year. There's a couple changes here and there depending on which trim, different rims, paint job, a couple different features, removal of the spare tire. And the one confusing thing that I think a lot of people are getting misinformation about is the charger. We still have a CCS combo charger on this vehicle. The big change is Ford is giving the NACS adapter with the vehicle charger now. So if you're going to buy that mobile charging cord, you're getting the NACS adapter. You don't have to order it and wait a couple months for it to arrive. We're expecting maybe by 2026, it will have a built-in standard North American charging standard adapter, as some new vehicles coming out this year are already adopting that. But priced at about $115,000 Canadian, or much more affordable at $89,000 in the US, the F-150 Lightning Platinum hasn't changed in terms of price. We still have the same 580 horsepower, 433 kilowatt motor that produces 775 pound-feet of torque, or 1,050 newton meters. The range is still 183 kilometers with this trim, and we still have the same 131 kilowatt hour usable battery. Now, the big change for me going into driving this vehicle this time around is I drove the Silverado last, giving me an opportunity to see what the most direct competitor to the F-150 Lightning has to offer. Now, the max range RST is quite a bit more money and has more range, but a bigger battery. I think the most comparable to this would be the RST extended range. That comes in at about $117,000 Canadian as configured, so it's pretty close in terms of overall configuration to this. Now, it uses a 170 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery, which is, effectively 40 kilowatt hours more than this, and produces more power, 645 horsepower, 785 pound-feet of torque, using the wide open watts, the max power output mode, so you're not getting that all the time. Range on that vehicle, as configured again with the extended range, about 628 kilometers. So you're getting, about 140, 150 kilometers more range compared to this. But it's a heavier vehicle. It weighs more. It's got a bigger battery. It takes longer to charge. So is the trade-off worth it, depending on how you're going to use the vehicle? Now, we're going to be doing two separate videos on this specific F-150 Lightning. Today, we're going to be talking about how it is to drive it in town, doing stuff that's around your area, the typical use case for a pickup truck. But then I'm also going to be taking this vehicle to Montreal. It's about a 720 kilometer drive from where I am right now. We're going there and back. So I will be talking about in a separate video how this vehicle is to live with on a road trip. This will be like the fourth electric vehicle road trip that we've done, and I'm excited to be showing you that. So stay tuned for that. But let's jump on the road now. I'll tell you all about this truck, why you're going to be interested in it, how it compares to the Silverado RST, and everything else you need to know about the Ford F-150 Lightning. All right, my friends, let's talk a little bit about the energy efficiency when it comes to our Ford F-150 Lightning in the Platinum trim. We completed our test loop in normal mode. And, with the EVs, we try to keep it at a maximum of like 110, 114 kilometers an hour on the highway. But we completed it in 32 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That is the exact same number that we got when we drove the Lariat back in November. Now, November it was a little cooler out. Today it's 25 degrees. We really didn't have spring here in southwestern Ontario. We went from like 0-degree nights to 25-degree days in literally days. I'm pretty sure last week, whatever vehicle I had, it was cold out, and now it's like really, really warm. So battery is as warm as you can get. It's at the temperature that needs to be in order to provide the most efficient drive possible. But because we're now into the warmer temperatures, I have to have the AC on. I was really hoping a week like this, I would actually be able to keep the windows down for the most part, but it's so humid all of a sudden. So good job, weather Good job, global warming. It's great. I enjoy it a lot. So let's talk about the drive of this truck. It's pretty much identical to what we had before and exactly what I expected the Platinum to offer. Now, again, it's not like I am unfamiliar with this vehicle and unfamiliar with this trim. So everything that I expect to be here is here. You know, all the gadgets, all the tech that you could hope for. 360 cameras with a bed view camera, heated ventilated seats, dual zone climate, you got the works. I mean, the only feature you're really missing, which I believe the Silverado had, is a head-up display. And it's not really a need. Yeah, it's one of those things that's nice to have, and maybe even a digital rear view mirror. That's definitely something that's on the Silverado. Not necessarily a need, but I mean, if you're spending $117,000 plus $3,000 luxury tax and then regular taxes here for this vehicle, you kind of want it to be the best of the best. And I'm not saying it isn't. You know, this certainly does have quite a bit going for it, but it is missing like just a couple little features. But when it comes to the truck stuff, the real reason why you're going to be buying this vehicle, it's easy. Not even a competitor in terms of my opinion to the Silverado. This is the better truck. Now, yes, the Silverado EV might be a better EV, but that's fundamentally the difference between those two vehicles. The way that I look at the F-150 is this is a truck that Ford made into an electric vehicle. They took the regular F-150, the truck platform that they've used, they slap a battery and some electric units into it, and bam, you've got yourself an electrified truck. Chevrolet did the sort of the opposite thinking. They took an EV platform and made it into a pickup truck. So it is really an electric vehicle first, and then a pickup truck second. The first thing I noticed when I got into that Silverado was how tight it felt. One of the reasons why I like driving full-size pickup trucks as a big guy is I feel at home here. I have ample space. I have more space than I could ever need, and I'm extremely comfortable. With the Silverado EV, it felt more like driving a mid-size pickup truck. I felt a little tighter. My arms were kind of held in a little bit more. I felt the sides of the armrest kind of encroaching into my personal space more so than I do on this by a long shot, really. Even though the exterior dimensions are pretty similar, just the way that the Ultium platform is from General Motors, it just feels like there's a lot of body mass. And I know it's not there, but it just feels like the vehicle is very thick. And then you've got, you know, the interior, which is a little bit smaller because of it. And yeah, you get more range. You get more power. You have more options, as you can get the max range version of the Silverado EV RST, and then it's going to give you like 740 or something kilometers. So yeah, I could more or less do my entire drive to Montreal in that vehicle without having to stop to charge. But are you buying a vehicle like that because you're going on long road trips all the time? I'm going to say no. And it wouldn't be the reason I would buy it either. I mean, the reason I would have a vehicle like this is because I'm doing stuff in town. I'm driving less than 200 kilometers during a day. And really, you know, when I brought this home, charged it up fully, and then it wasn't until last night, which was Thursday night, that I charged it up, because just driving around town all day, I'm using next to nothing. I'm at 97% still, and I've driven this thing today for, I don't know, upwards of 45 minutes to an hour, because it's just regenning, right? Your brakes, you're not using the conventional brakes. Your electric motors are being turned into generators when you're slowing down. So if you're in town a lot, if you're buying a truck like this because you're a contractor or somebody who works, you know, more or less in your community, you don't have to worry about charging. And I've enjoyed my time with it just as I did the last time, obviously with more bells and whistles. I don't need all of this stuff. I think it's nice to have. And I still do think, even after driving this at a pretty staggering $117,000 price point, that really the Flash is the ultimate trim. You get everything that you really need out of a vehicle without any of the extra stuff, and it's a relatively affordable price when you compare it to the other, you know, 4 different electric pickup trucks you could buy on the market today. So I like it quite a bit. I have no complaints. Now, we talked about the performance. Let's show you a little bit about how that actually works. Yeah, I've kept the vehicle in sport mode pretty much the entire time that I've had it this week, just because it is fun. I don't do too many big launches, but still, I mean, oh, yes. Oh, it's like pulling me back up to speed, no problem. Is it effortless performance? Well, I mean, I think the Silverado was quicker off the line. Obviously, it has more power, but it has more weight, so it's got to manage that extra weight in order to get up to speed. But yeah, I'd say that the Silverado does feel like a speedier vehicle. So if you're looking for performance, that might be the way to go. But I mean, for me, you know, at least the way that I've been looking at this truck since driving them more than once is, yeah, I mean, you're probably buying this because you want a pickup truck first. So you want that capability, you want the payload, you want the big bed, you want big cabin space, you want it to feel like a pickup truck. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do want an EV that's, you know, an EV first and a pickup truck second. That's fine. Go get the Silverado. That's what's great about having choice. And that's why there really isn't one size fits all when it comes to any of these electric vehicles. There's a lot of good choices out there. And the best way to be able to figure out which one you might want is to find out how owners have experienced their vehicles, which is why our sponsor, ratemyev.com, is really the best place to go to find owner-based reviews of all electric vehicles out there on the market. Pretty much everything that you can look for, there is a ownership review of it, as well as professional reviews such as these. You can find a plethora of information about them, but really you want to know how owners have experienced their vehicles, because they're the ones that live with them every single day. Journalists like us, we get them for a week. I'm lucky I have this one for 2 weeks, but the owners, they're the ones that actually put the money down, and they're the ones living with it. So check out ratemyev.com. Get those reviews, because really, if you're in the market for any of these vehicles, anything at all, it doesn't have to be an electric vehicle. We always tell you, you got to do your research first. You want to make sure you're buying the right thing. That really is the best place to find more information about EVs, bar none. Now, let's do another little, this is like what I would call getting up to speed on the highway. Oh, a little bit of wheel chirp. Yeah, I mean, I find that this thing is better when you're already going. From a rolling start, this thing is great. There's no launch control or anything like that here. That's sort of the difference with some of the other electric vehicles out there, again, being a pickup truck first. But man, it pulls you. It feels good. And what I like about it is the regen. You know, as soon as I let go of the gas, even though I'm not using one pedal drive, it's already starting to use regen in a smart way. So I do like it. I mean, it's not perfect, right? As I said, it's not an EV first, so there's a couple of things that we're missing that, you know, I would have liked to have seen, i.e. different brake force regen modes. Stick a couple flappy paddles on here, allow you to change them. A driver-only mode when it comes to the HVAC system. We really do like to see that when it comes to these electric vehicles. That gives you a little bit of extra control, less airflow going to the places that aren't occupied. And then really the scheduling, you can schedule it no problem. You can tell it when it wants to be ready to go, but getting the actual off-peak charging is just a little complicated with this vehicle. I think it could have been easier, so that's something else to consider as well. But for the most part, the F-150 Lightning is really, you know, my choice when it comes to a pickup truck that is fully electric. You know, as much as I enjoyed my brief time with the Silverado EV, and I do have one booked a little bit later on in this season, really the Ford F-150 is the way to go. They're the number one truck brand, and there's reason for that, and they're also the number one EV truck brand, and there's a reason for that too. So it's expensive, but it gets the job done. But as always, you know, we appreciate hearing from you. So if you have any questions about this Ford F-150 Lightning, please let me know in the comments below. We do try to get back to everybody as quickly as we can. As I said, we are driving this for 2 weeks now, so you'll be seeing this video on the day actually that I'm heading out to Montreal. So if you have questions about how the vehicle is on a road trip, I might be able to answer them before I film that video. So get into the comments, make sure you let me know if there's something you'd like to see about the truck on a long trip. I will do my best to make that happen. But until next time, we appreciate you watching, and take care.